Today's story comes from the Jesus Story Bible, where every story whispers his name. If you have a book like this at home, go and grab it, and we're going to read a story together called The Servant King. This story is also found in Mark chapter 14 and John 13 and 14. It was Passover, the time when God's people remembered how God had rescued them from being slaves in Egypt. Every year, they killed a lamb and ate it. The lamb died instead of us, they would say. But this Passover, God was getting ready for an even greater rescue. Jesus and his friends were having a Passover meal together in an upstairs room, but Jesus' friends were arguing. What about? They were arguing about stinky feet. Stinky feet? Yes, that's right, stinky feet. Now, the thing about stinky feet back then was that people didn't wear shoes. They only wore sandals, which might not sound so unusual, except that the streets were dirty. And I don't mean just dusty dirty, I mean really stinky dirty. With all those cows and horses everywhere, you can imagine the stuff on the streets that ended up on their feet. So anyways, someone had to wash the dirt, but it was a dreadful job. Whoever on earth would ever dream of volunteering to do it? Only the lowest servant. I'm not a servant, Peter said. Nor am I, said Matthew. Quietly, Jesus got up from the table, took off his robe, picked up a basin of water, knelt down, and started to wash his friend's feet. You can't, said Peter. He didn't understand about Jesus being a servant king. If you don't let me wash away the dirt, Peter, Jesus said, you can't be close to me. Jesus knew that what people needed most was to be clean on the inside. All the dirt on their feet was nothing compared to the sin in their hearts. Then wash me, Lord, Peter said. Tears filled his eyes, all of me, and one by one, Jesus washed everyone's feet. I am doing this because I love you, Jesus explained. Do this for one another. Now, one of Jesus' friends made a bad plan. No one else knew about this bad plan, but Jesus knew, and so did Judas. Judas was going to help the leaders capture Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Go on, Judas, Jesus said. Judas got up from the meal, left the room, and walked out into the night. Then Jesus picked up some bread and broke it. He gave it to his friends. He picked up the cup of wine and thanked God for it. He poured it out and shared it. My body is like this bread. It will break, Jesus told them. And this cup of wine, it's like my blood. It will pour out. But this is how God will rescue the whole world. My life will break and God's broken world will mend. My heart will tear apart and your heart will be healed. Just as the Passover lamb died, so now I will die instead of you. My blood will wash away all your sins and you'll be clean on the inside in your hearts. So whenever you eat and drink, remember, Jesus said, I've rescued you. Jesus knew that it was nearly time for him to leave the world and go back to God. I won't be with you long, he said. You are going to be very sad, but God's helper will come, and then you will be filled with the forever happiness. It won't ever leave. So don't be afraid. You are my friends, and I love you. Then they sang their favorite song and walked up to their favorite place, the Olive Garden.